All right, topic 7, World War II. We're going to start out in 7.1 to 7.3 here. Treaty of Versailles causes a lot of problems that are going to eventually lead to World War II. League of Nations is very weak. It doesn't really do what it's supposed to. It's supposed to keep peace, make sure countries aren't attacking each other, etc. And they're too weak to do that. The U.S. not being involved, as you can see that cartoon at the right, is a major player in that. War guilt is placed on Germany. Germany's made to feel weak, inferior, it's all their fault, etc. So you're going to see a lot of guys like Hitler come in to countries like this that have been, especially Germany, and they're going to say, we can make you feel better about yourselves, or you can have some pride again. Great Depression. Economics are not good whatsoever. It's really, really bad. People are lacking jobs, money, food, you name it. So when people come in and have situations that say, I can fix this, I can get you jobs and that sort of thing, they latch onto that. New countries in Eastern Europe are going to fail. In general, it's going to create a lot of instability, a lot of weakness, and make them ripe to be taken over. National self-determination outside of Europe is going to fail as well. That's going to be the ability to kind of to say, hey, I should be a country, I shouldn't be a country, etc. And that's going to create a lot of tension outside when that doesn't work. And so it's going to cause colonial powers and so forth to fight. You got your dictators here. We'll go through them in a minute here. You can kind of see 1930, this is what Europe looks like roughly with each dictator leading where they are. Totalitarianism, you're going to have a government or a single party leader control the entire country, the entire government, economic, social, political, culture, you name it, they have total control. How do they get this control? They censor their rivals, don't let them have their opinions out there, and if people don't know there's more than one message, how can they possibly think otherwise? The government's going to control what people hear and see. If they want them to know something, great, they'll know it, it'll help them out. If it's going to hurt them, they won't let them see it, so it's going to be very limited on what people get to hear and see. And these guys here know how to get a crowd going. Stalinism. Stalin takes over the Soviet Union when Vladimir Lenin dies. The original founder of the Soviet Union takes control, total control, makes the Soviet Union under Stalinism a military power and industrial power. In order to keep control, though, he does kill and imprison probably 10 million plus thousand Soviets. So with that in mind, we are going to ally with him, though, because he is going to be against Hitler, so that will work for us in that sense. Mussolini takes over Italy by force a little bit. Says we're going to make Italy awesome. We're going to bring pride back. No more political parties. How he keeps control, takes over the press like Hitler's going to do. Stalin does. Secret police again, and he's going to be a fascist. This is going to be extreme nationalism, super pride in your country. He's going to be an autocratic person, a dictator, total control, strong person. Why would Italy want a guy like him in? Well, they didn't get a lot, in the Treaty of Versailles, so they want somebody who can hopefully give them some good terms. Germany's Weimar Republic is going to be the government after World War I, and it's going to have to deal with economic problems, social problems, political problems, you name it. Hitler writes Mein Kampf while in prison. It basically says what his entire ideas are and what he plans to do. And he says, hey, all the problems in Germany are caused by the communists and Jews, particularly the Jews who he's going to focus on. So Nazi Germany rises. Hitler gets released from prison, takes over what becomes the Nazi Party, and then becomes chancellor and made himself a dictator, takes total control, outlaws other political parties, etc. And he's a fascist, just like Mussolini. Hirohito in Japan is the emperor, but he doesn't have the real power. He's just kind of there following along. Tojo, the bottom right corner, Hideki Tojo, he's going to be the guy, military leader. They're trying to get expanded into other markets for resources, basically taking over the countries because they're an island. They don't have a lot of things. Their economy's weak, so they need resources, steel, oil, rubber, etc. And they feel this way a little bit because Japan didn't get enough in the Treaty of Versailles originally in World War I, so they want to go get those things now. Fascism spreads to Spain, even though they don't take part in World War II. Just kind of important note because it shows the strong need for those strong leaders here. So it's kind of spreading throughout Europe. Italy invades Ethiopia. Japan takes Manchuria and Nanking and other parts of China. Germany takes over the Rhineland. These are all violations of the Treaty of Versailles, especially Germany and Italy. And yet it's going to continue with the League of Nations not doing very much. Germany in particular, Austrian Anschluss, they take over Austria. Why would they do this? Because they want more land, Lebensraum, more areas for Germans to live, but they also say these are basically German-speaking people. Anyway, so we might as well make everybody here a German. Moving on to Sudetenland, part of Czechoslovakia. Hitler says there's German-speaking people in there. They're being persecuted for basically being German, so we should also take them as well. Here's kind of a rough timeline, as you guys can see a little bit here, of how these things go down. George Orwell talks about how totalitarianism is bad. An appeasement, though, appeasement's the policy of giving somebody something so that way they stop whatever they're doing. In this case, Britain and France, they give Hitler the land that he's already taken to this point that we've discussed, and trying to get him to stop. And Hitler's like, cool, I'll stop. We're good to go. I'm not going to take any more. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain thinks that war is done. We're not going to have a war. Peace for our time, he says. Need to know questions, though. Why did they do this? Britain and France, they didn't want to have a World War I situation again. They learned from that, don't want it again, so they're appeasing Hitler. Hitler takes this appeasement, though. He keeps doing things over and over, and there's no consequences. It's kind of an open invitation for him to continue on, and he's going to. Takes over Czechoslovakia, the rest of it. Hitler lied. Even though he said he was done, he was not. Chamberlain says, okay, we got to really think about this. If he does invade Poland, which is nearby, then we're going to have to legitimately do something. Problem is, the Nazi-Soviet aggression pact is going down here a little bit. The other countries were kind of thinking Russia would be kind of, they would fight Germany if something happened here. Well, Hitler's thought about that too. He doesn't want to take on the massive Russian army, so he has a Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact drawn up. It splits Poland between Russia and Germany, and Hitler really wants this, so he doesn't have to fight them, doesn't fight on the Eastern Front and the Western Front, doesn't want to fight Russia, Britain, and Germany all at the same time. Stalin does this because he doesn't want to go to war yet. He needs the army to get ready. So realistically, all this does is says we're going to split Poland between us, and we're not going to war. Now World War II is ready to kick off. All right, so World War II begins with a blitzkrieg lightning attack. Germany invades Poland. Generally goes planes, tanks, and soldiers in that order, roughly. They're going to move fast. They're going to hit you hard, and they're going to take your territory as quickly as they can and just overwhelm you. Britain and France now officially declare war on Germany, so World War II has started, right? Well, hold on. Phony war is going on for about 6 months. Nothing really happens due to needing to get soldiers around, supplies, you name it. Plus, it's wintertime. It kicks back off in April with Denmark, Norway, Netherlands, and Belgium falling to Germany. France is going to fall. You can see where France and Germany connect there on the map a little bit. They create the Maginot Line. Fortifications in the style of trench warfare, bunkers, machine guns, you name it. Thinking that if Germany wants to attack, that's where they're going to come through because it's logically the closest and easiest point. Germany has other ideas, though. The German blitzkrieg just goes around through Belgium, walks into France, and France falls within about 6 weeks. You can see there, Germany, they push into most of France and take quite a bit of it. Hitler in front of the Eiffel Tower there. Meanwhile, soldiers are pushed back to Dunkirk. British and French soldiers here. There's about 400,000 of them. About 330,000, which is about 80 to 85%, are able to be evacuated to Britain. A lot of civilian ships here. Check out the movie Dunkirk. It portrays that. But why is this important? Well, it boosts morale. I mean, it wasn't a massive defeat. That's a lot of soldiers that could have been lost. Plus, it's more soldiers to live to fight another day, so that's always good. Battle of Britain's an air battle here. Hitler wants to invade Britain. They're the only ones really left from him standing in the way of him dominating Europe. So he sends his air force in, trying to get control of the skies. That way he doesn't have to worry about British airplanes attacking his ships when he lands them to invade Britain. However, the British Royal Air Force thwarts those plans. The bombing of London, aka the Blitz, does continue on for a little bit more, but Hitler never actually gets control over the skies of Britain, and it kind of hurts his air force going forward. Isolationism. Let's stay isolated because World War I cost lives, money, you name it. It's not our war. It's halfway across the world. And that leads to the America First movement, like Charles Lindbergh. He's involved with that a little bit. Neutrality, 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 they say. However, that's going to change over time. Neutrality Acts of 1935 through 37. They basically say don't do anything to be involved with countries that are at war because if something happens to you while you're visiting them or sailing on their ships or whatever, trading with them, we might have to get involved, so just don't mess with them whatsoever, basically. That changes a little bit. Cash and Carry Neutrality Act 1939. Basically, if Britain were to come over and pay cash, so there's no paper trail, no real evidence of them buying those weapons, and then carry the weapons back themselves, then it's good to go. It's a way to help without appearing to do so. Selective Service Act, the draft, aka let's get prepped for war, let's get a military up. Lend-Lease is we're going to lend, countries like Britain. This is a way to give them aid, lend them arms and stuff like that and food. They'll just pay us back after the war. FDR kind of justifies it because if your neighbor's house is on fire, wouldn't you just help them and settle up later? That's what we're doing with Lend-Lease. Political cartoons here, just touching on the neutrality acts here a little bit. We talked about those in class. Election of 1940 rolls around. FDR wins. Unprecedented third term. First president and only president to be elected for 3 or more terms. He's done a pretty good job. Great Depression and stuff, keeping us out of war, so people like that and they want to reelect him. Axis and Allies powers. The Axis powers, Germany, Italy, Japan, Britain, France, Soviet Union, and the United States, are on the other side with the Allied powers. 4 freedoms. FDR basically pushing these 4 things, that saying that, look, if we want these 4 things, we need them. How do we get them? We help the Allies out, like Britain. We give them money and aid. Freedom from want. The first 2 are kind of self-explanatory. Freedom from want is basically just, having food on the table, roof over your head, things of that nature. Freedom from fear is basically you don't want to have to be living in a constant state of fear, of war, etc. Let's avoid those things. Let's help out the Allies and make it happen. Atlantic Charter is a secret meeting between FDR and Winston Churchill in Canada. They keep it secret so that way they don't have to show that they're publicly taking sides. And it's got those aspects down there, and those are their plans for a post-war world. So the Atlantic Charter is a big deal. It's a post-war world plan. And then the ABCD encirclement of Japan is basically Japan needs oil, fuel, steel, rubber, etc. U.S. doesn't give it to them anymore. China's fighting against Japan. Japan's feeling a little bit crunched here. America, Britain, Chinese, the Dutch, they've all got possessions in the Pacific, and Japan feels like they're getting encircled, so they feel like they've got to do something, which is going to lead us to Pearl Harbor. Tojo thinks that Japan can't reason with America anymore, so surprise attack. Take out the fleet at Pearl Harbor, the naval fleet, and then they'll be the top side or the top country in the Pacific. Nice thing about for us though is much of the fleet is out to sea and really doesn't get hurt. So moving on here to Pearl Harbor, some reactions. Americans in general, let's go to war. Let's get ready. We got to do this. We got to try and get better within our country. We've got to, jobs, guns, you name it, we got to help out for the war effort. Navy's going to expand significantly, a lot of jobs. Military in general is going to expand. Women are going to throw in their 2 cents as well, work, do clerical tasks, etc. Officially, December 8, 1941, we declare war on Japan, and then Germany and Italy declare war on us, so we declare war on them. What actually happens to get ready for war? A lot of draftees. There are going to be plenty of volunteers, but quite a few draftees. You sign up for selective service, and then if your number is called, congratulations, you're drafted. 10+ million men drafted, and even more when you look at that total army size when you factor in volunteers. A lot of different races and ethnicities. You can see the numbers there. They are going to be in segregated units, though, so equality is not quite there yet. Women's Army Corps, clerical workers, drivers, instructors, teachers, you name it, trying to get people ready for the military. You got to get the country ready, though, too. The War Production Board is in charge of that. Their basic job is to get those factories and stuff that are making things for here at home ready for the war. Got to change them over from making cars to, say, tanks. Unemployment is going to plummet nearly 18 to 19%, down to about 1% from nearly 20. It's a big jump. Excuse me, going back here. You got gross national product. The value of everything we're producing is skyrocketing. Tons and tons and tons of jobs created as we go from peacetime to wartime production. We produce twice as much as Germany, 5 times as much as Japan. So U.S. coming in is going to be a heavy hitter. We're able to provide a lot of guns, resources, you name it. There's kind of look at the Pacific as we kind of move on here. In the Pacific, just kind of touching on it just a little bit, Japan takes a couple of different islands, Guam, Wake Island, the Philippines, and they take over more of the South Pacific. General Douglas MacArthur will come back. He retreats to the Bataan Peninsula. 70,000+ American Filipinos are captured, and they are forced to go on the Bataan Death March, where over 10,000 of them are killed, or if they have marched 60+ miles. This is basically they don't get a lot of food, water. They're just treated terribly, and major violations of the Geneva Convention, which basically says you have to treat prisoners of war with decency, respect, feed, clothe them, just basically treat them like a human being, and Japan does not do that. Doolittle Raid. America's feeling like we're not doing too well in the Pacific, so the Doolittle Raid is sent to bomb Japan. Doesn't actually do a lot to bomb Tokyo, the capital of Japan. I mean, it does kill some people and do a little, so it doesn't actually do much as far as a military sense, but it does give a morale boost just like Dunkirk did with saving all those troops. So Doolittle Raid, air raid on Japan, Tokyo, the capital city, doesn't do a lot strategically, but it does boost morale. In the Battle of the Coral Sea, this is where Japan is looking to invade New Zealand, Australia, etc. And the Battle of the Coral Sea prevents that. It kind of halts their expansion, and eventually it's going to be rolled back. So Coral Sea halts Japanese expansion towards Australia and New Zealand, and it's going to be rolled back. All right, that is section 7.1 to 7.3. If you guys have questions, feel free to stop by or email me.